Hi, I'm John Rabel, the founder of Launch, which is a legal and business advisory firm for small and mid-sized companies. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about work from home policies. Seems to be an ongoing issue which may continue to last for a little while for companies, mostly around the COVID situation, and then some companies sort of thinking it'll be in their best interest to stay at the work from home. It works out better than they expected, and they can continue to operate efficiently under that setting. Wanted to address a few issues maybe around employer responsibilities and some best practices in order to limit business risk. So, one of the big things that comes up when you're implementing a work from home policy for the first time, and you've had to do it quickly without a lot of notice, which is the situation a lot of companies found themselves in last year as COVID sprang up and government orders were being issued about shutting down or closing locations. So people were forced to get their workforce home, how to set that up, make it all happen, and continue operations. Big issue that came up was communication. You want to make sure there's no uncertainty or as little uncertainty as possible about what's going on, what the company's plans are going forward, and what sort of system you'll put in place to make sure employees are kept up to speed on where everything is. If you're still at some point thinking that you're going to have everyone back in the office, let your employees know how often you're revisiting that policy. Are you going to check back in on that every 2 weeks, every 2 months, or have you implemented an indefinite work from home policy, which is becoming common? And what will that look like, and how will that change any roles or responsibilities people might have had? So another big issue that comes up is making sure that any general procedures or policies you had in place for employees are adapted as needed in order to fit the new work from home environment. Depending on your industry or your company, you might have had scheduled breaks, things along those lines. What does that look like when you work from home? What do any reporting requirements look like? Are you now having to switch to operating more digitally than you were? How do employees go about getting certain information in at the right time to the right place? Or even something more formal, such as, an employee wants to lodge a complaint about a situation that's going on. How do you handle that remotely? Make sure it's taken seriously and the proper steps to look into it are handled. So you really want to think about your policies, how they might be impacted by a work from home policy, and make any adjustments you might need to make. And the other big question that's out there, I think, for a lot of business owners is, what are their responsibilities to their employees in terms of any additional expenses the employees might be incurring now that they're working from home? They're working on their own laptop, they've got internet service, whatever the case may be. Is the employer responsible for providing any of those services and equipment? And so generally on the federal level, there's no obligation for an employer to cover the expenses from working from home. Now, some states have different laws about that. You want to make sure you look into your specifics depending on what laws your state may have. But generally, from a federal level, that's not an issue. However, it does become more of a business issue and sort of a supporting employees situation where a lot of companies are voluntarily offering some sort of stipend or a little bit of money to help make sure employees can cover any additional expense that they might be incurring due to work from home. Of course, that'll be a case-by-case situation. Each business will individually need to think about those situations and what they may or may not do to address them. And sort of along those lines, you'll want to make sure that employees do have access to any equipment they may need to do their job in order to keep the company functioning as efficiently as possible as everyone tries to figure out how they're going to move forward. So that's a little roundup of things to pay attention to with working from home. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Rabel, that's JRAB as in boy, IL, at launchstrategylegal.com or 804-442-6090.